Then we empty the contents on the property where we build piles for plants. Here is one. As you can see, it's made up of all sorts of things, including the contents of the bucket. Then we plant a tree on top of it, and
Browse, take your time, enjoy.
this is one of the
May the mist
piles or hugels we made last year, and as you can see, there's a tree growing on top of it, and some other edible plants. Actually, I didn't use the toilet bucket for this one because we were supposed to eat it this year, but if you're not supposed to eat whatever grows on the pile this year and possibly even the next year, then you can very well use the contents of your bucket. Rather than put the contents of the bucket in a compost, it's better to put it directly where you're supposed to grow something. If you instead take the contents and put it directly where you want the earth to be, because this turns into earth, then you also get the good things from the contents where you want it to go. Another advantage with putting the contents of the buckets like that is that bees and other insects make use of urine, for example. They take minerals and such from it, and they can easily gain access to it if you just put it. That's a bee. I'm going to open the window to let it out. So the bee is outside, I can continue. You don't pollute the ocean by doing it this way.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I will be the judge.
And you get more material for growing food in your own garden. Note though that if you have a bucket instead of a water closet, you probably need a property with a garden of some size. Maybe not actually even of some size, but at least you need a garden. And you also have to consider neighbors and such, because you don't want to
the deep. One wonderful world.
This is my skin color, and this is my natural habitat. My skin is so light that I can survive in a forest with only a very little sunshine. This is a sick forest though, compared to the forests we used to have in Europe. There's still some things to eat, some plants to eat, but it's almost like a desert. And what we need to do to these forests, these sick forests in our modern Europe, is to revive them, is to restore them to the state they were in before agriculture. We need to add diversity. We need to take the plants that used to grow in the forest and return them to the forest.
Alas, poor Nithendra. She served faithfully as guardian of the dream, only to be perverted into a gatekeeper of corruption.
Det er langt nede.
Ja. Nå står jeg under deg.
Er det trygt å prøve å rope?
Og hoppe ned på bakken, mener du?
Ja.
Hva synes du?
Ja.
Du kan henge etter hendene.
We have not inherited Thule from our ancestors. We have borrowed it from our children.
Don't waste your time arguing over whether or not you should paint the deck, or which color the deck should be painted in, or who is to man the broken rudder. If you steer this way or that way, doesn't matter, you have no control of this ship. It's heading for disaster, no matter who is in charge. The only sensible thing you can do if you are aboard this ship, and you are, is to jump overboard and swim back ashore. Don't jump overboard though without a life jacket.
We have not inherited Thule from our ancestors. We have borrowed it from our children.
I see the earth rise up again, rise from the sea. She turns green again. Water falls, eagles fly, they fish in the mountains. They took some reindeers on an island that provided them with everything they needed. There were no predators and they had food in plenty. So they multiplied, and what had been just a few reindeer became a huge flock. But of course, when they became a huge flock, they ate all the food and they starved. There were not enough food for everyone. And they all starved. And in the end, only a couple of animals survived. All the others died from starvation. And this is of course what's going to happen with mankind too. We are thriving right now. We are multiplying. But at one point we will become too numerous, and the planet is not going to be able to sustain human life as we know it. And we're going to see mass death, starvation, famine. And that's why there are some so-called survivalists out there. They see the writing on the wall, they know what is coming, and they prepare for it. They prepare for the inevitable, and they make preparations to increase their own chance of survival when this crisis comes. And if it never comes, doesn't matter, they have nothing to lose. You can still eat the food you had, you can still use all the equipment you purchased. So it's a win-win situation, really. I'm sitting here in our garden, and this is how a normal garden will look after 1 year of negligence, or rather after 1 year
4,
left alone.
2, 1.
In 2 years you're going to see more trees growing from the grass behind me, and in the end it's going to turn into a forest, which is you know, the natural condition of Europe, and also our natural habitat, the natural habitat of the Europeans.
1.
Last time I was here, I talked about role-playing games, and in relation to survivalism, how you can use role-playing games to practice, for theoretical training, really. And you can go through these scenarios and see what's missing, see what you should have done differently, and see what equipment you should have had that you didn't have, see what type of equipment you had that maybe wasn't very useful, and so forth. And I think also I promised in another video that I was going to make a role-playing game custom-made for survivalism. So I made a supplement for a mythic fantasy role-playing game called The Coming that you can use to play out all these survival situations. There are rules for radiation, for example, that will enable you to see how radiation can affect you and how you can get rid of it or deal with it in real-life situations. I used real-world research, so what applies in these rules should apply to the real world. There are rules for firearms, so you can use that. There are all sorts of new rules for especially designed for this type of setting. And also you have critical hit tables. You have now a list of flaws that you can also use for mythic fantasy role-playing game, you know, using the default setting. So if you are interested in role-playing games, or maybe curious, but you're not really interested in fantasy settings, then perhaps you might be interested in The Coming, because it's a different type of game. It's you can play it however you like. If you want to play it as a sci-fi game, a survivalist game, a Rahova game, a spy game. You can use already existing settings like Twilight 2000 for it.
Let's travel through the mine. Let's travel underground. Let's travel underground.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The strands of life have been severed. The dreamers must be avenged.
Let the nightmare
Semulji asked me for a little information about the Coming, so here you go. It's a small book, 46 pages. This is how big it is. Open it up, you have acknowledgements, the praise testers, and some special thanks. This is what the book contains. Introduction, character creation, talents, flaws, some new modified and removed skills, because the setting here is different than the default setting. Additional morale rule with suppression. If you're fired upon, there are certain rules in that context. Rules for radiation, mental health, some new melee weapons, new armor, helmets, equipment, firearms. Rules for use of automatic fire, for automatic firearms. Fumbles for different modern weapons, critical damage, infections, important factions in the world, random encounters, some adventure seeds, and I included anachronisms and foreign weapons and Thule. That is some weapons in the medieval era, from the medieval era. So disclaimer. Introduction. This is just describing how the world is. Character creation is similar to the one in Mythorog, only it's much simpler and faster here. You just pick some skills and you define your character based on the skills you pick as your character skills. The list of talents has been somewhat modified to the new skills that have been included in the Coming, and removed skills and so forth, and change skills. Then we have a list of flaws. This is one of my favorites of this book. You have all sorts of flaws for your character. It's difficult to hold the camera and flip the pages at the same time, as you can see. And they are I find them kind of funny, and I can give you some examples. Here we have a parasite. That's a flaw. You feed on others and what others do. You are unable to create anything yourself, do any manual labor, or think morally in relation to others and their belongings. You think intelligence is the same as the ability to tell lies and to get away with crime. You probably have a background as a banker, lawyer, or stockbroker, or something like that. Very funny. What else? Cannibal, of course. You have eaten human flesh. That's something some people consider in survivalist situations. What else? Self-hating. You have an exceptional negative view on yourself, possibly caused by brainwash, making you hate yourself and everyone who are like you, your race maybe. You constantly excuse yourself and even your own existence, and are always willing to take the blame for whatever goes wrong. I consider that a flaw. slave-minded. You have no initiative and become afraid and confused unless you have someone to lead you. You must test your willpower against the degree of difficulty 9 in order to do anything unless told to do so. This flaw could also be called average man-minded. Stuff like that. Whiny. Whenever you face problems, you must test willpower against DD9 or you will be unable to do anything about it. Instead, you will just whine and complain if the others don't solve your problems. Yeah, there are loads and loads of flaws. And then we have the modified skills. I have included a updated special character sheet for the coming in on the Mythra website. There's some special rules for foraging because the world is different here. Here we have the remove skills, and then you have the rule for suppression, which means that if someone is shooting at you, you might not actually be able to fire back because you are, for example, pinned, meaning that you can only shoot one round or one burst with an automatic weapon in direct fire. Or you're covering, which means that you cannot deliver any direct fire at all, you're just covering behind something. Or you're broken, which means that you cannot fire at all. Direct fire means that you're shooting, and you can still throw a hand grenade if you're covering, because that's indirect fire. But if you're broken, you cannot do anything, you just try to crawl to safety. And then you have routed, means that you just sprint or run or dash to safety. And you might even drop your weapon on the way because you are just freaked out by probably a massive amount of fire against you. Bullets flying and so forth. So you have rules for that. You have rules for radiation, which here we go. And you can become sick. You have radiation sickness, or you can die. Big surprise. And then you have a list of, radiation, how you can get rads or get rid of them. And these are supposed to be, they're supposed to be in harmony with reality. I checked the sources and how to do this and so forth. So you take a shower, eat Prussian blue, eat garlic, eat brown or green algae to get rid of stuff. Iodine pills, but you have to take them before exposure, and so forth. So you have all the modifiers there. Mental health. This is a new rule. You can also use many of these rules for the standard Mythic Fantasy role-playing game, by the way. And this is one of them. Mental health. Human bodies are frail and prone to injury, but so is the human mind. So here you have a rule system for how to deal with mental trauma, and how to heal mental damage, and also here we have the effects of losing mental health points, because you might freak out completely and become deranged and psychotic, and yeah, mental health is not something you joke about. Well, actually I do, but here we have some new melee weapons and modern flak jacket, flak vest, Kevlar vest and so forth. Rules for that, and these rules are of course perfectly compatible with the other armors and such in Mythic Fantasy role-playing. Here you have a list of ammunition, because survivalists and other types of games will require firearms. And then you have the list of firearms, different types, different add-ons that you can have on them. There are recoil. Recoil is if you're firing more than one round in a round, you will probably be less likely to hit with the second shot because of the recoil. Yeah, heavy weapons, grenade launchers and so forth. Then you have the different add-ons you can have on the firearms. Rules for automatic fire. They work very well actually. They work very well in playtesting. And accidental automatic fire. If you're a complete green person and tries to shoot, maybe you shoot more than you intended. And this is of course relevant
if you have very few rounds to begin with. You hand a weapon to a complete idiot and he just blows away the entire magazine, and then you have nothing, which kind of sucks. So you have to take these things into consideration. Fumbling tables for firearms and heavy weapons. Critical damage. This was suggested by Eddie, that I included a critical damage table, and I combined the one he suggested I included and modified it and expanded a bit and so forth. And then you have how to heal critical damage, like fractured bones, broken bones, smashed bones, paralyzation, shattered limbs, and so forth. And let me say, here, example, critical hit, blow to face, light bleeding and stunned for 46 rounds. If only a modern helmet with no face protection was worn, one eye is lost. If no helmet is worn, one eye is lost, and you're in a coma for 2d6 weeks. Kind of sucks, doesn't it? Here, blow to body, ruptured spleen, permanent -2 modification to poison resistance. So you can have all sorts of horrible, actually have the horrible critical damage as well. For example here, blow to rib cage, bones breaks and penetrates internal organ. Death in d6 rounds. And here you have some other cool ideas suggested by Eddie. Bitter enmity. If you survive, you become really resentful towards the type of creature causing the injury, or its entire race, a human. Scars. You can have some scars with the effect of them. The effects on the mind. You can become more fearful or more courageous. You have seen death and you fear it not, for example. In rules for infection, because infections are pretty relevant in this context. And here is how the infection become healed. And then you have the important factions in the world: WHO, USA, CIA, Hydra, Russia and China, Iblis, that is the International Brotherhood of Liberal Islamic States, the European Union, the organization Al-Qaeda, the UN, the Watchers, the Antediluvians, the Horde, the Gardeners, that's a group of virus is a virus that is infecting only certain types of human beings, and it has spread out in Africa and South America, and it causes people to become zombie-like creatures. And it's called greed, after the first letters in the name of the person who was first infected. Random encounters with for a modern setting, and you have some typical NPCs just with data just for quick reference, and adventure seeds not in huge numbers but in sufficient numbers. There you have a greed virus described a little bit. It's airborne, but only certain populations seem to be infected by it. So. And then you have anachronisms and foreign weapons. That is basically the medieval weapons that you cannot find in the Mithril rulebook, because that is based on classical antiquity. But here you have the medieval weapons as well, if you want to include them. You should be able to if you want to. And then at the end, an updated list of how to perform combat round that I talked about in my video talking about combat. And that's it. The coming.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The impurity must be cleansed.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Fall and fight for the dream. Is that you, Pharaoh-Shan?
When night falls, she cloaks the world in impenetrable darkness. A chill rises from the soil and contaminates the air. Suddenly, life has new meaning.
Could the darkness be inside of me?
Hold your weapons.
Sacred light. Your death fortifies the dream.
Let's travel through the night. Let's travel underground. Let's travel to the realm of day.
Cenarius is weak, but my great teacher lives. Now I must focus all of my strength. I will not fail you. Xavius waits ahead in the rift of our the true heart.
Let's travel through the night.
Fight at your side.
Let's travel underground. Let's travel to the realm
My bond
of
with the
day.
Emerald Dream gives me great power.
Death.
Rift's darkness. Appeared inside. Didn't know this to be true. Should step within. My forest. Just as Go. Destroy the nightmare lord. Only this way can the dream be restored. And Azeroth be saved. We must put an end to the nightmare. Say the word. I will take this into the heart and twisted place.
Let's travel through the night. Let's travel underground. Let's travel.
If this tree here is sacred, then I'm not going to chop it down in order to sell it for profit, am I? But trees are no longer sacred. Why? Let's find out. In order to justify the destruction of our forests, the destruction of our fields, of our lakes, of our seas, of our rivers and streams, in order to justify the torture and destruction of animals and animal species, you need to be detached from nature yourself. You need to think of yourself as being above nature, better than nature. In order to think that it's fine to exploit and misuse nature and anything in nature for the better of man, you need to have a monotheistic religion as the foundation of your morals, your ideology, your worldview. Only people who have this fundament for their ideology and worldview is able to do that.
No, I will not permit it.
When nothing is sacred anymore, you can do whatever you want. Cut down the trees,
The waking world.
Embrace the dream. It can save.
you can torture animals,
You can destroy whole valleys just to make some power plant, a dam. That will bring you electricity for your industry so that you can destroy even more. And to those who think that technology and what we have is a good thing, I will tell you to please study the consequences a bit more thoroughly. The consequences of industrialization, the consequences of the exploitation ideology that we have, that we must have in order to uphold this high-tech civilization.
Your triumph restores the dream and safeguards your world. The allies of Xavius will come, but this road at least is closed to them.
If this continues, if this is allowed to continue, man will turn into a subhuman creature, and no amount of eugenics or anything can stop it. It might help slow it down, but it's not going to stop it, because we are fundamentally wrong right now. What we do is fundamentally wrong.
Marie, når vi er i skogen, så pleier vi å spraye barna våre med en sånn spray som du har laget for å beskytte dem mot limsykdom, altså egentlig flått da. Kan du fortelle oss hvordan du lager det?
Du tar disse to oljene.
Se på det.
Så det er geranium rosa, heter det på fransk. Og lavendel. Essensiell olje.
Ja.
Og så tar du bare noen dråper oppi.
Hvorfor får jeg aldri norske penger?
Hvorfor du aldri får norske penger?
Ja.
Fordi vi bor i Frankrike. Tilbake til deg, Marie.
Ja. Så du bruker lavendel essensiell olje og geranium rosa.
Ja.
Som er et eller annet på engelsk da.
Ja, jeg skal ta og
Og så, eller på norsk. Og så tar du og tar 10 dråper av hver oppi en sånn flaske. Det er kanskje litt mye forresten.
For den flasken
Du kan ta egentlig mindre da.
Ja.
Fordi det er en veldig liten flaske. Sånn at, la oss si, sikkert 5 av hver er faktisk nok. Ja, men
til en sånn liten flaske.
Ja. Og så tar du vann.
Ja.
Trenger ikke noe annet, bare du blander det litt sånn før du sprayer da.
Ja, kan du vise hvordan du sprayer da?
På elva.
Ja.
Sånn. Så sprayer du på alle klær. De bør lukke øynene da. Og så bør du ikke spraye på hud, fordi av og til kan du få allergi av sånne oljer da.
Ja.
Vi får ikke, men det kan hende. Og så kan du spraye litt på hår, hvis de har tendens å legge seg i skogen.
Ja.
Og spesielt på sko og bukser, for det er der flått kommer opp.
Ja.
Så bør de være likevel godt kledd i skogen. Da.
Ja.
Og de der hva heter det, luktene
Ja.
gjør at flått og faktisk mange andre insekter kommer
Kommer en kongle.
på deg. Da.
Ja.
De liker ikke de luktene, rett og slett.
Ja.
Og hvis ikke du har de oljene, vil jeg tro, altså i en krisesituasjon, kan du si, så tror jeg du kan sannsynligvis bruke lavendel og geranium. Geranium finnes i vill tilstand veldig mange steder.
Ja.
Ikke geranium rosa, men det er sikkert bra nok. Og lage en urtete som er ganske konsentrert.
Og så sprayer det på klærne.
Ja, fordi meningen er det skal lukte, og lavendel lukter veldig sterkt. Sånn at jeg tror det er
Ja.
nok. Eller så kan du lage essensiell olje selv også.
Ja.
Men da må du ha litt materiale.
Ja. Sånn at når vi sprayer ungene våre med dette som du har laget, så kan de løpe rundt i
De får
skogen og
aldri flått. De få gangene de har fått flått, var de gangene vi glemte det.
Ja, det har du rett i.
Eller en gang da Lili tok av klær for å løpe rundt i skogen bare fot, og så fikk hun en.
Ja.
Og da, hvis de får en, da er det veldig viktig å sjekke likevel kroppen, og hvis de får en, så når du har lys hud, er det jo lett å se,
Ja.
spesielt på barn. Og da er det viktig å ta det av fort, men ikke ta det av med pinsett bare, eller med fingrene. Det er faktisk ganske viktig å ha flott pinsett.
Ja.
Fordi da tar du det av ved å snure den, og så...
Mot klokken.
Mot
Retningen, ja.
retning. Og jeg tror det, for det bør sjekkes, men det jeg gjør, og det virker bra. Og så det gjør at ikke de blir dratt ut. Fordi risikoen er at når du tar dem ut ved å bruke pinsett eller drar dem ut litt hardt,
Ja.
så kan de kaste opp matten sin inn i kroppen.
Ja, og det er det som gir
Det er
sykdom.
det som er farlig.
Fall titten din ned, Soveli. Ja.
Fordi de har sykdom inn i kroppen.
Ja.
Og hvis du tar dem fort, så har de ikke kastet det opp, fordi de har en litt spesiell måte å spise på. Da. De spiser og kaster, og de kaster opp etter 48 timer i snitt, tror jeg.
Ja.
Så du har 40
Men flåtte, de får som regel limsykdom fra mus og rotter og slike
Det er
ting.
det vi tror, ja.
Ja.
Men det er forskjellige limsykdommer. Altså, det kommer fra en bakterie som heter borrelia,
Ja.
og det er forskjellige borrelia-bakterier.
Ja.
Sånn at det er noen som tror vi er farligere enn andre også.
Ja. Men som regel så kommer det altså fra rotter og mus, gjør det ikke det?
Ja.
Sånn at hvis du dreper reven i skogen, som spiser rotter og mus,
rev er helt ekstremt viktig dyr i skogen, fordi de spiser først og fremst mus. De spiser høns av og til, da.
ja.
Men de spiser først og fremst mus og rotter, og det er jo selvfølgelig veldig nyttig. Sammen med rovfugl.
Ja.
Selv om de jakter ikke i skogen, da. Jo, altså de der, jeg vet ikke hva det heter.
Ugler.
De jakter i skogen, og de også er veldig viktige. Og de også forsvinner, fordi på grunn av landbrukmetodene, på grunn av mye forskjellig.
Så hvis du har høns, dreper reven for å beskytte hønsene dine, så øker sjansen for at du faktisk blir bitt av en flokk som har limsykdom.
Ja, du bør ikke drepe rev selv om du har høns. Selv om de spiser hønsene dine, så må du forstå at det er fordi du gjør det feil med hønsene dine. Altså det vil si at det er ikke naturlig for høns å være innestengt i et lite område. Det er faktisk sånn sett bedre, hvis rev kommer inn i et lite område, da har den instinkt for å drepe alt. Så det er det som veldig ofte sier man at rev er slem fordi de dreper alle hønsene, og ikke bare en for å spise.
Ja, og det er fordi hønsene ikke klarer å flykte.
De har instinkt for å ta alt som beveger seg. Ikke nødvendigvis, kanskje skiller de ikke engang at det er et individ eller flere, sånt. Altså de dreper det som beveger seg.
Ja. Og hvis de da ikke er inngjerdet eller innburet, så kan de faktisk flykte, og da dreper reven én høne.
Det er det vi har opplevd også, at de faktisk, det vi har, og da må du må lære det.
Da godtar du det.
Du må godta og miste en av og til. Det er klart det hjelper å ha hund, og kanskje urinere rundt hønsegård. Altså.
Ja, jeg går jo og tisser over helt tomt på vei.
Ja, men det hjelper, og alt dette da, men det er klart rev er en nyttig dyr, og det er noe de prøver, mange blir sint mot rev fordi Det er jo feil. Du må jo ta og så at du mister noen ting.
Og så er det veldig mye flott som går på hjort. Og det er veldig mye hjort fordi at vi har drept all ulven.
Alle rovdyr.
Ja, alle rovdyr er
Derfor
fjernet.
sånn sett er jakt viktig I dag, fordi ellers er det ingen som har gjort.
Så hadde ikke jegerne gått rundt og skutt hjort og rådyr, så hadde det vært enda mer flott, enda mer limsykdom og enda mer problemer.
Det er riktig.
Nå skal jeg sparke forsiktig.
Sannsynligvis. Men det som er viktig også å vite, er at egentlig vet vi lite om limsykdom. Men det som er merket, er at det finnes mer flott med borrelia-bakterier I skogene som er kunstige. Det betyr at balansen I til og med den skogen er forferdelig kunstig.
Ja.
Trærne er ikke plantet I rad så mye, men det er nesten bare et type tre.
Ja.
Og det er jo veldig kunstig.
Ja.
Og det er jo bare blåbær og litt bjørnebær på bakken og ormegress selvfølgelig.
Du ser de eneste trærne som skilles ut, det er de som er langs veikanten.
Ja, men det er veldig lite biodiversitet.
Ja.
Og vi har merket at det var veldig lite fugler, synes vi, I forhold til tomten vår, for eksempel.
Ja.
Og klart, det er jo de som spiser flott, det er jo fugler,
Ja.
blant annet, ikke bare.
Ja. Og hvis du har høns gående fritt på tomten din, hvis du har en stor tomt for eksempel,
Ja, men det er klart, men poenget er at
det spiser jo de all flåtten.
Ja, men vi har merket at ikke vi har noen som helst flott på tomten vår.
Ja.
Vi sprayer ikke oss på tomten,
Nei.
og det har aldri skjedd
Men vi har
at
masse
fått
mus.
flott. Ja, og vi har likevel mus som blir tatt av rovfugl.
Og hunden vår.
Og hunden vår. Og kanskje rev, men jeg tror rev er litt redd for å komme på grunn av, utenom de gangene vi har opplevd det.
Ja.
På grunn av hunden da.
Ja.
Men hunden tar jo mus, og da sier vi ja, det er bra, det må du gjøre.
Ja.
I stedet for å si så ekkelt.
Ok, men
Den lille babyen er jo
det er jo veldig, altså, hvis du tenker på survivalisme, så er det veldig mange som er opptatt av å ha den rette kniven og skytevåpen. Og,
men egentlig
og det er greit selvfølgelig, det er helt viktig å ha både kniv og skytevåpen, men det hjelper jo ikke mye hvis du da går rundt med G36 automatgeværet ditt I skogen, og så blir du bitt av en flokk, liksom.
Ja, absolutt. Det er det som er viktig. Selv om vi vet egentlig ikke helt hvor farlig det er. Vi vet egentlig ikke hvor farlig det er, fordi det kan hende vi alle har limsykdommen fra barndommen.
Så det kan gi deg.
Er sant?
Hei.
Ja, kan du flytte det, Solvik?
Det er det som er problemet, men det er sannsynligvis veldig farlig for noen, det vet vi.
Jeg skal bare skvise den.
Never has it had so thorough a stranglehold on the dream. It hungers, desperate to seed its corruption.
How many times haven't you heard how Christians claim that the reason why Europe became so advanced and so far ahead of everybody else in science and technology is because of Christianity? But is this true? Let's find out.
That my Shandong could play any part in its corruption. I will see with my own eyes what horrors have befallen my beloved teacher. Steel your hearts against the darkness, heroes.
She handed me an old sword. It was green from corrosion. But I held it.
nightmare consumes me, compels me to serve, to kill. If you need further proof of how insidious the nightmare is, look there. Even the fierce heart of Ursak has succumbed. Release him, I beg you!
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Should have fled. Now I'll feed your bones to the storm crows. I will flatten you like
4,
saplings.
3, 2, 1.
Beware. Stamp and trample, crush and
4, 3,
trample!
2, 1.
By the will of the Nightmare Lord. Truly, there was never a soul more noble than Orsak's. I pray his spirit finds its way back to the dream.
Christianity has never promoted any type of advancement here in Europe. Not scientifically, not technologically, not mentally, certainly not spiritually. It's a backward, destructive, foreign religion. It's a weapon created to destroy Europe, and it should be treated as such. Thank you for watching. Hail Europe. the sun sets behind me. And what a good picture it is for our civilization, because this is the fall of civilization, the decline of the West.
5, 4,
But
3,
that's not what I'm going to talk about.
1.
I want to talk about life, because I have been very lucky in life. I have always been very privileged, and whenever bad things have happened to me, they have always turned out to be good in the end. And I'm going to talk about one of the best memories of my life. And paradoxically, it's from school. I never liked school, but one of my best memories is from school. This is just one of many, but I'm going to give you this one as an example. When I was in, that would be junior or high school, 9th grade, or in Norwegian 8th grade, we had music as a subject. And at the time I was listening to Iron Maiden. I had lost interest in school completely. So I was sort of like an outsider, not a metalhead, but an outsider. I was more interested in role-playing games and Iron Maiden, really. So I placed myself at the back in the classroom. I was not interested in anything in school, and I did the same in the music class. And our music teacher used to just play classical music for us. And then he stopped the record, vinyl at that time, and then he asked one of the students if he or she could tell what that was. And nobody ever could, of course, because they were youth. They didn't listen to that kind of music. And then he played another record. And I think at some point I made a noise or disturbed the music or somehow did something, and he wanted to punish me. So he stopped the music and said, "Okay," pointed at me, "You tell what this is. What did we just listen to?" And I told him we listened to Swan Lake by Tchaikovsky. And everybody started laughing because they thought I was just kidding. And when they stopped laughing, he said, "Well, that's correct." And everybody were so amazed, and they did not understand what just happened. And I felt pretty good about myself. You know, such small things, such details in life matter. These are the things that make life good, make life enjoyable. We could, sing a few songs as our ship sinks and be happy anyhow. The fall of the West is nothing but a rebirth of something better. Many of the customs in the assumed Christian tradition are originally European. And by European I mean pagan, as in non-Jewish. One of these customs is the practice that the priests have of wearing robes. A robe is a piece of woman's clothing. So why on earth are they wearing robes? Let's find out. Originally, the European deities were hermaphroditic spirits of nature and in man. They were later anthropomorphized and thus turned into gods or goddesses. However, the tradition of representing them as hermaphroditic remain. Therefore, the male priests had to wear robes, and the female priests, rather the priestesses, had to wear men's clothing on the upper body. This was to represent the hermaphroditic nature of the deities. And this custom remained in Christianity, and therefore the priests wear robes to represent the hermaphroditic nature of the deities. The same applies to nuns and monks, and the tradition of marrying the deity, like the nuns do, is also deeply rooted in the European pagan culture. We know this probably best from the Greek religion, where they had the Maenads and the Bacchantes, and where the Bacchant was a man who impersonated the male deity of Bacchus, or Bacchus, and who, by the way, is known in other European cultures by different names. In Scandinavia, he's known as Freyr. In Slavic cultures, as Veles or Veles, and so forth. Anyhow, and the Maenads, they represented the female deity. That would be Aphrodite, or Shiva, or Freya, etc. Venus, of course. And they were married to the deity. And where the custom differs from the modern or more modern Christian version of it is that the girls who married the deity, they were all virgins, and the marriage was only symbolic, so there was no, like a sexual intercourse or anything. And the girls who married the deity were very young. And they remained in service for the deity for about 10 years, and then they would return to normal life. We know this custom from modern society, from the Nepalese custom where they have the Kumari. She's also a representative of the deity, a avatar, a deity incarnate. And after a while, when she starts to bleed, when she has her first menstruation, she is no longer the deity, and another one will replace her. So the custom of marrying the deity was normal, but unlike in the Christian culture, they would not deny life, so to speak. They would not let these poor women remain virgins until their death. They would not let them remain in marriage with the deity until they became so old that they no longer could procreate. And that's where it differs, and that's what makes a difference, because the pagan European custom was a celebration of life, and the Christian custom, when you added a little bit of gravel to the oil that you poured into the gearbox, so to speak, it ruined the whole gearbox. And therefore the Christian religions, although they are made up of 90% paganism and only 10% Judaism, they are in fact cults of death, where they take these beautiful young women away from society and put them in a monastery where they are denied all opportunity to procreate and to participate in a constructive way for the tribe. And you could say that the Christians they included the pagan traditions and customs, but they failed to make good use of them. So it turned into a cult of death. Which, by the way, if you want harm to a people, it's a very good way to destroy them. You just take their best women for many generations, for thousands of years, and ensure that they don't procreate. So, one might wonder if this was not done intentionally, this misinterpretation and misuse of the pagan customs, because it certainly did not turn to our favor. It was not in our interest that it developed that way. It was, however, in the interests of our enemies. The sacred marriage is known from other parts of our culture too. We have the May Queen, the May King, and this is all the same. It's all rooted in the same. And I write about that in my book called Reflections on European Polytheism and Mythology. Put up a link to that book in the description below. So, all our culture, even today, is rooted in our own culture, but it has, like a gearbox with 90% oil and 10% gravel, been ruined. So, we need to open up the gearbox, so to speak, and remove the gravels and fix it and make sure that we pour only oil into the gearbox. Our customs here in Europe are positive for us. They have always been about the cultivation of the good, the honest, the strong, the healthy, and the sane. And the reason why we saw our customs perverted and changed was because we are also very, very gullible. We are naive, we are blue-eyed, and we think that others are like us, but they are not. And when we realize that, and when we put up a proper defense against those who are not as
blue-eyed as us, then we will prevail, then we will suffer no more. And we will be able to preserve our culture and preserve our traditions and preserve our blood and everything that we hold dear. And if we don't, it will not end well.
4,
Bye-bye.
2,
Why does Barbara Spector hate people like me? Let's find out. I'm living in the countryside with my wife and 5 children. We are homeschooling our children, which means that every time the school inspectors arrive, they are very impressed because, like all homeschool children, our children are way ahead of the children in school in pretty much all subjects. We don't have hot water. We tend to use the sun to heat water in the summer and to some degree spring and fall, autumn, and in the winter we heat water with firewood that is obtained from the area very cheaply, or gas, and we will keep using gas as long as gas is available. But when it stops, we will use only firewood from the area. We have planted several hundred trees on our property. We have a fairly large property, and we are using permaculture to try to become as autonomous as we possibly can. We're not yet there because it takes time, but we're getting there. We have hens, of course, and yeah, I cut our wood myself. As long as we have gas, I use mainly the chainsaw, but I also use a manual saw. And when we run out of gas in this world, I will keep using the saw, the manual saw.
5,
We
3, 2,
don't have public electricity. We have solar panels,
4, 3,
so we are not,
1.
connected to the electricity web. We do have internet, but we don't have a TV. We don't have a shower, we don't have a bathroom really, we just use a tub, a plastic tub where we wash ourselves. We don't have a dishwasher, we don't have a washing machine. We do all these things ourselves manually. And we make money, but we don't make enough money to be forced to pay income taxes, which means that we don't pay any income taxes at all, 0%. We're not poor. There's no reason to pity us. We have everything we need, but we don't pay taxes because we have 5 children, and then the bar is raised. When you have the more children you have, the more you can earn without having to pay any taxes. At least that's the rules here in France. No matter what kind of jungles they create in the cities, the countryside remains calm and pleasant and European. And that's a real nightmare to them. So my advice to you is to move to the countryside. Start a family, live there. Try to become as autonomous as you can. And instead of worrying about not making enough money, you should worry about reducing your needs for money. Because the The less money you need to survive, the less dependent you become, and the less you sponsor their evil criminal regimes. Yep, that's the best term we can use for them. When shit hits the fan, when everything goes ad undas, the families in the countryside will do best. They will be the most likely to survive. If they're pretty much autonomous, they will not be affected too much by the sewage that is created in the cities and other urban areas or semi-urban areas by our politicians. This is a free area, a European area with you have hunters and dogs and plenty of animals and nature and trees and firewood and energy and everything you need to survive isolated. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, you can still have internet and use it as long as it works. You can still use gasoline as long as it works. You have to make some sacrifices, or rather you have to make use of some of the services that are still available. But by and large, try to become as autonomous as possible, and the most important thing is not to cut off all the good things about civilization, but to ensure that when you no longer have them, you are able to survive anyhow. You're not you need to not become dependent on them. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. One of the problems about being domesticated is that you rely on help from others, and you are trained to rely on help from others. If you come home and your home has had a break-in, you call the cops. If someone threatens you, you call the cops. If someone plans to murder you, you call the cops. If your house is on fire, you call the fire department. If someone gets really, really sick, you call the ambulance. If the phone stops working, you call the phone company. If the electricity stops working, you call the electricity company. If there's a flood, you call road services or whatever, and so forth. We are living in a society where we are not only actively trained not to help ourselves, not to take care of ourselves, but to even be punished if you do take care of yourself. If you do defend yourself, if you take matters in your own hand, we're not allowed to do that. So we are extremely domesticated. Now that we are suffering from a malfunction of these services, when these services are slowly but surely breaking down and cease to function, then most people will still stay put, and they'll still call the cops even though the cops don't help them. They'll still call the fire department even though it might take 3 or 4 hours or maybe a day before they come. They will still rely on all these services, and in the meanwhile they will sit there with their hands folded and be completely helpless. And that is what we are expected to do. That's how this society is designed to be. Survivalists understand this. They know that you need to prepare for a situation where you have to take care of yourself. And of course, the domesticated people, they call you paranoid and you need to wear a tinfoil hat and so forth. When you do, and that's okay. The problem is though that when will you realize that you have to take care of yourself? When does the moment come when you open your eyes and see the world as it is. And you realize that, shit, I'm on my own. Nobody's gonna help me. I'm on my own. Of course, the survivalists, they have already reached that point, and they are making preparations to, you know, be able to take care of themselves. And the others, they will probably stay put in the town they live in. And when they are being attacked, they will call the cops, even though the cops won't come. When the house is on fire or something else is burning, maybe the neighbor's house, they'll call the fire department, even though the fire department doesn't work anymore. If they get sick, like maybe a lot of other people, they'll call the ambulance. And if they are unlucky, the ambulance will come and take them to the hospital, where they will be exposed to a whole lot of other shit, you know, other diseases, maybe even, you know, plague, and you never know. And also, when they realize that, shit, I'm on my own, it's too late. They will die. They will stay put in the town, and even though you have gangs of criminals roaming the streets, robbing people, stealing the things they need, breaking in, raping, killing, stabbing, stealing, even though this is happening, they will stay put, because that's what they're trained to do. They're domesticated. They're sheep. So, to all those people who think that, you know, the survivalists, they're gonna get fucked anyway, because all the people of the town, the moment there is no more food, they will just go out and, you know, travel from village to village and loot their way through the world and survive. That's not gonna happen. The vast majority of people are going to stay put in their own home, in the town, in the city, where they will die, either from starvation, from thirst, or because their neighbors kill them to, you know, to take the last piece of bread. And those who do leave the towns, they will also die. They will probably die very quickly from diarrhea, because they will drink water that is polluted, because they don't know how to clean water, or they don't know how to purify water. They don't know what kind of water you can drink or can't drink. And if they have anything useful, the others in the same group will probably kill them long before they reach these survivalists in the countryside. And they're not used to walking either, so they're not going to travel, you know, 50, 60 kilometers to get to those people living outside. They're going to die long before they reach anybody. And again, back to the city, if they don't get killed, they will probably die from disease, because when the health services, or rather the, I don't know what's called, the people who pick up the garbage, when they stop working, then the garbage will start to pile up, and when the sewage stops working, then people will probably just pour their crap out the window, and it will pile up in the streets, and everybody will die very soon from some disease or diarrhea. Yes, my predictions is that the vast majority of mankind has death from diarrhea as the end for them. And they're calling me paranoid. They're suggesting I put on a tinfoil hat. But I don't care. They're just living dead anyway. They're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to be able to loot anybody. They're going to die in the cities, and the world will be better off without them. Bye-bye. No, literally, bye-bye. We're never going to see you again. You're going to die. Bye-bye. Good riddance. There are many things that I can do, and there are many things that I have done that I didn't do very well, But there's one thing that I did really well, I think. Wanna know what? Let's find out. I am not a very good guitarist. You could say I have my own style, and I manage to play music, but I'm not a very good guitarist. I'm not a very good bass player either. Certainly not a good keyboard player, and I pretty much suck at playing drums. I did play drums better before, but my main quality was really, you know, endurance. I could play for a long time and keep the beats per round at the steady level. That was my quality. Technically, I sucked. I've always sucked. I'm not a good mixer when you know, go to the studio and mix. Not a good producer. Certainly not a good drawer. I can't make anything of the artwork myself. If I did, you'd die laughing when you saw it. I'm not a good car mechanic. I can fix some things, but it's not just the lack of equipment that makes me unable to fix certain things. It's also complete lack of competence. I am not a good driver. I mean, I might be a good chauffeur in the sense that I'm safe and it's comfortable to ride with me, but technically I'm not a good driver at all. Not a good off-road driver either, for that sake. Not that I have taken a test to see if I'm good or not, but I feel like I'm subpar, really. Not a good fence builder. I have built a lot of fences on our property, mainly around it, by the way. And if I had been a professional, they would probably not pay me for it, because my work is not very good. I can build a fence, but it doesn't look very good. I'm not a good gardener. I can make some things grow, and if it works, I'm pretty much sure it's because I was lucky, not because of any competence from me. I'm not a good painter of cars, but I've done it anyway. The result was pretty cool, but quality-wise, it's terrible. I mean, if I did that on somebody else's car, they would probably try to run over me with the car afterwards or something. What else? I'm not a good electrician, for sure, but I did manage to put up our solar panels, and with the help from my friend Cedric, we put up the panels and all that stuff as well. We had to pull the wires through some other wires. It wasn't too hard, but I'm not a very competent person per se, really. There are many things that I really don't know how to do. There are many things that I do anyhow, but I barely manage. But the most important thing, I think, is that if you need to have something done, you should try to do it yourself anyway. And even if you do it poorly, you do it yourself. Even if you do it, even if you don't manage to do it, then at least you tried. And the more you do this, consequently, I mean, in every aspect, in each and every situation, the more you will learn. And this is a survivalist mentality. You try to become more competent. When you're not competent, you try to become more competent and try to manage anyhow. Even when you don't know how to do something, you will give it a shot. So, the conclusion to this: if you need to have something done, you should try to do it yourself. Even if you feel that you don't know how to, you can just watch some YouTube videos on how to do it. They probably exist. And you should give it a shot. Try. And if you do it yourself, not only will you probably save money, but the more important is that you will become more self-sufficient and you will educate yourself and become more free. And that is actually a pretty neat reward. Bye-bye. So what do I think about the claim that the countryside is going to be overrun by, zombie hordes of townspeople when shit hits the fan? Let's find out. To all those who think that all the people of the city is going to leave for the countryside, I'm going to argue that if they would do that, then they have already done it, because shit has already hit the fan, and we are living through this apocalyptic scenario as we speak. It's just happening so slowly that people who are not very bright are unable to register. They're unable to see it, what's happening. So I don't think we will see a mass migration from the cities to the countryside. They will die there and never leave till it's too late to leave. People in the countryside is going to organize and defend their local communities. And they are able to. They have, the dogs. Hunting is, like the main hobby here. Pretty much everybody have like 4 or 5 rifles or shotguns, and that suffice really to defend your local community against the hordes of the cities. The biggest problem, I think, is going to be in the period where it's not a total collapse, but when it's about to collapse totally. I think the police is going to be the most dangerous, because they still have their weapons, they still have authority, and some of them are rotten to the core, and they will misuse their power in that period. And the second threat, which is even bigger, but which will come later on, is of course the military. Because when society collapses, when the military people no longer get paid, they no longer get orders, and they don't know what to do, they are going to organize as well in bands and try to survive. And they are, equipped and armed to deal with any peasants, any hunters. other human beings, is it always a bad thing? Let's find out. Quite often on my channel I get comments from people who simply write me off as a killer. Oh, you killed a human being! Bleh. And the same people don't seem to have any problems with people who kill in certain contexts. For example, if the killing is sanctioned by the government, then it's fine apparently. And by sanctioned by the government, I mean like if soldiers kill, then these people don't have any problems with socializing with people who kill in duty. But you know, I have a friend, the former drummer of Uruk-hai, you know, the band that was before Burzum. He's in the special forces. He have served many places in the world, and amongst other things, he have 12 confirmed kills in Afghanistan. He's a so-called sniper, a sharpshooter, and he told me about some of these killings. In one case, he was lying several hundred meters away, and they killed everybody. His team killed everybody in a compound, and then there was one guy who tried to get away. He ran all he could and he jumped into the shithole that would be in Afghanistan. They just have a hole to shit in, and then on the other side the crap runs out. So he jumped into this shithole and crapped through crap to get out on the other side, and then they just waited for him, and when he came up they killed him. And he can talk about that casually, no big deal. But he didn't know the persons he killed. They hadn't done anything to him, and he had really no reason to kill them. He just killed because his government told him to do so. And that's fine, according to many. Okay, but when I kill to defend my life, then I'm a terrible person, I'm a killer. I should be jailed for life and so forth. It doesn't make any sense. And in this context, the real problem is of course that the people who only tolerate sanctioned killings, they're a bunch of cowards who are unable to think for themselves, are unable to act for themselves, but who blindly follows anything that the government tells them to, and they are really the immoral persons. They think it's terrible, not that I killed, but that I killed without any person telling me to do so. And they would kill children, women, anything if their government told them to, like soldiers often do, like the Georgians did in Ossetia, South Ossetia, like the Albanians did to Serbs in Kosovo. So the problem they have with me is really not that I kill a person, because they think killing is fine too, only if it's sanctioned. Their problem is that I remind them of the fact that they are cowards, and immoral cowards as such. And in this context, I'm going to talk about a Danish film called The Shamer's Daughter. It's a very good film, and if you're American, you will love the fact that there is no quotations. Every single person in this video is either Danish with Danish grandparents or Norwegian with Norwegian grandparents. Not a single person from some minority group quoted into this film. So that's another good thing with European films. And it's called The Shamer's Daughter. The point is that the shamer is a woman who, when she looks into a person's eyes, she can see their shame and they will feel their shame. And therefore nobody wants to look her in the eyes. And the daughter, one of her daughters, has inherited this ability. So when she looks into a person's eyes, she sees their shame, what they've done, but they are ashamed of. Of course, some people have no shame, so she has no power over them. And the good point in this film, this has a very European moral, that would be a pagan moral, because there's a warrior here who she looks into his eyes, and he has killed many people in combat, but he has no reason to be ashamed for it, because killing itself is not bad, it's the context that matters, and he killed them honestly. So he has nothing to be ashamed of. Another thing I like about this is that the concept of these shamers who look into the eyes of others and see their shame reminds me of autism, because a lot of autists don't look into the eyes of people when they speak to them. And the reason why is that, not that they have no interest in human beings or no understanding of human beings. The reason why they do that is that they have the ability to read the mind of the person they look into the eyes of. So they can, sort of like the shamer, they see the person for what he truly is. They see his inner self. And that's very uncomfortable, because it's like a breach of privacy. If an autist looks into your eyes and can tell more about you possibly than you know about yourself, then it's uncomfortable for that person. So this film is very good on many levels. It's a Norwegian-Danish film. They speak Danish, and it has English subtitles. It's a great movie. To sum this up, killing is, in some contexts, okay. And if you kill somebody, you have nothing to be ashamed of, as long as you have a good reason to do so. And in my opinion, the soldiers who serve our military and who kill people in foreign lands, they have much more to be ashamed of than I have. I defended my life, and what they do is to serve a rotten criminal government and to use their sanctioning of violence as an excuse to kill others, whom they have no right to kill whatsoever. Our forces in Asia, in Afghanistan, have no right to be there, and those who kill Afghanis, they are doing the wrong thing. They have no right to do that. And if you want to bitch about somebody killing others, I suggest you start by bitching about the killing that our government is responsible for and that they sanction, and about the cowards who run their errand willingly. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. Peace.
You cannot pass. I am the secret servant of the fire of Odin. You cannot pass.
Or can you? Let's find out. You cannot pass through life as an artist without getting attention. So, whenever I see artists accused of being attention whores, I think that, that's just stupid. A person is making a living from promoting his product, and his product is a part of himself, so of course he's trying to get attention. I am of course no different from other artists. I try to get attention too. I particularly like it when I get attention to my role-playing game, because this is something I really enjoy and want to promote. I also think it's good when I get attention attention in relation to my music project, whether it's called Burzum or just in my own name, whatever. And when I get attention, I like to use the attention I get to promote other things as well. Other role-playing games, other channels, other ideas, and also my own ideas, or rather the ideas that I embrace, because they're not really my own ideas, are they? So I mix in with all the Burzum stuff, with all the role-playing stuff, with all the rants. I mix in the things I want to promote. So I use this attention to promote something that I think is positive. For example, resistance to the genocide of Europe. I think that's a terrible thing, and unfortunately we live in a world where you are not allowed to resist. They call it tolerance, which of course is just another way of... they promote tolerance, and that is just another way to remove all resistance, because they don't want us to resist. And they have rather strong measures to prevent us from resisting. But we can resist in some ways, and I do by talking, by raising awareness, by pointing out their hypocrisy and crimes, really. So I want attention. I really want attention. I want many subscribers. I want to promote Miforog, Burzum, and resistance to the white genocide that is going on as we speak. I also want to promote, when I think about it, survivalism for Europeans, and of course by Europeans I mean Europeans living all around the world, whether they live in Australia or New Zealand or North America or Europe, doesn't matter, they are Europeans. And I want as many of them to survive as possible when things go bad, and I think that by promoting survivalism you don't ensure that they survive, but you increase their chances to survive. And this is of course part of my resistance to the ongoing white genocide. I want my people to survive, and I may add that this is not racism, this is not hatred, this is love, this is respect. Respect for my forebears who worked and fought and killed and died and bled for our culture, for our peoples. And I don't think I have the right to say that, well, fuck them, fuck all the generations before me, let's just destroy our own culture and people. I don't think I have the right to do that. I don't think anybody else has the right to do that. So I argue against doing so. And I argue for people embracing their own roots. Sure, I am Eurocentric because I am European, but I also think that Asians, East Asians should embrace their own culture, that Africans, that Americans, that whoever are also in their right when they embrace their own culture and preserve their own traditions. So yes, I try to get attention to my channel, and when I get attention myself, I use that attention to promote my ideas. It's nothing, there's no hocus pocus here, that's the way it is, and that's fine. And I also think it's great when others do, when, like the Golden One uses all the attention he gets to promote it, when, the Angry Foreigner does the same. I think it's great. Do that, keep doing it, and if others can do the same, do it. We need to end the white genocide, and we can do that by informing the masses. So,
Thank you for watching. Bye bye.
Run away, little girl. Get back up. Fight! A shocking weakness.
The evil white man pollutes everything and destroys our environment. But do we really? Let's find out. They want us to think that the evil white man is responsible for the environmental disaster that we are already experiencing, and that we will experience more and more as time goes by. And I read in a newspaper the other day that some Pakistani general warned that Norway, Hungary and Great Britain were doing something terrible when they built walls to keep the refugees out. And that this would be a disaster for the future, because the future surely would bring climate wars. Wars brought by the environmental disasters that of course is brought upon the world by the evil white man. And therefore they should, instead of building walls, should prepare to open their gates and expect millions, tens of millions, even hundreds of millions of Africans and Asians coming to Europe. When I read such articles, what I see is conditioning. They are preparing the European populations for a flood of immigrants from Africa and Asia. And they try to justify it, and they justify it in advance to condition the populations, to prepare them that this is coming, it's your fault, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's just how it is. And can't build walls, we have to accept the millions and solve the problems that you, the evil white man, have caused upon this world. But in reality, Europe and even the USA is not really responsible for all of this. They want us to feel guilty. They want us to bend over and open the gates, so to speak. Oh, terrible image there, but they apparently don't want China to open the gates. They don't want India to open the gates, even though they are profiting greatly from this consumerism. They are building their nation from, the money we spend. And they are polluting the oceans. They are polluting pretty much everything. And unlike the Europeans, they don't seem to give, a shit about environmentalism. In Europe, you can't do anything really, because everything is illegal. If you do, they will, give you at least a ticket, but probably arrest you. The environmental laws in Europe were so strict that the big capitalists actually moved their industry to China and India. So we are not really responsible. And I may add that these big capitalists, they were not Europeans. They actually have their roots in and they moved the industry to China because they could profit more from having the industry there, and because they could pollute indiscriminately, because China didn't give a shit.
For the Alliance.
And in India. So, in reality, Europe is... Yeah, sure, we are responsible too. We too drive cars and buy consumer shit. But in reality, we are less guilty than China. We are less guilty than India. And we are certainly less guilty than these capitalist lords, these corporate big bosses, who are responsible for pretty much all of this. But apparently we, and only we, are supposed to open our gates and let the millions of Africans and the millions of Asians flood our countries. So, my question to you, why are they not preparing India for a flood of African immigrants? Why are they not preparing China for a flood of African immigrants? Why are they not preparing Japan for a flood of immigrants? Even though, Japan alone, with the Fukushima disaster, has, probably ruined half of the Pacific, with that one incident alone. And that's not the only thing they've done. You have to understand that the mainstream media is owned by the same people who own the factories and who moved these factories to China, where they were allowed to pollute and where they could treat Chinese children like slaves and make them work 16 hours a day and sleep in closets and so forth. And they own our media. They know that they are responsible themselves. They know that they are the guilty ones. And for some reason, they want to flood our countries and make us feel responsible and take responsibility for the disasters that they created.
I must know they are ready for the task ahead.
So be it. The unworthy shall be
We, the white man, we are not responsible for this. We are as much victims as the Africans and Asians who will suffer the consequences as well. Because we too suffer the consequences environmentally. In Europe, we have had our continent ruined by these capitalist pigs, these corporate bosses as well. And we did something to stop them, and when we did, they just took their shit and moved it to China, where they could continue polluting the ocean. And of course, the communist Chinese, they just profited and didn't give a shit. They didn't give a shit about their own environment, they didn't give a shit about the Earth's environment, and they certainly didn't give a shit about their own population's welfare. So, there you have it. Point the gun in another direction. Point the cannons in another direction. Don't point fingers at the white European. We are not responsible. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
You know how they always want us to feel guilty for the age of colonization, and that we earn the immigrants to now come to Europe and take part of the wealth that we have here because we plundered their countries, we looted them and exploited them. But is this true? Let's find out. Piracy is always presented in a very romantic way. And popular entertainment make us think that the pirates were basically, Europeans. In reality, almost all, and I'm not saying all, but almost all pirates from the Middle Ages through to modern times were Arab Muslims or Berber Muslims or Turkish Muslims, and they were operating mainly in the Mediterranean. And what they did was to attack all European vessels, and they would enslave the crew, enslave the passengers, and steal everything they had, and steal the ship as well. And then we bring it back to the North African coast, or to the Middle East, or to Turkey, or rather the Ottoman Empire, where they would sell the Europeans as slaves. Between 1 and 1.5 million Europeans were enslaved this way, and the pirates were not, the Muslim pirates were not only operating in the Mediterranean, although they were mainly operating there, but they were actually operating as far north as Iceland. They were going ashore and plundering and stealing and enslaving Europeans for hundreds of years. In the 18th century, 19th century, France had had enough of this and had become powerful enough to do something about it. So France decided to attack the pirates in their home bases in North Africa, and that's why they colonized Morocco, Tunisia and Algeria. So the colonization of Northern Africa by France was done to stop piracy, to stop the enslavement of hundreds of thousands of Europeans, to stop the sexual abuse of European women in Arab harems, to stop the mistreatment of Europeans forced to work for the Muslims in North Africa. So they did not take North Africa to exploit them, to earn money and to steal their resources. No, they did it to stop their crimes against Europeans. And I may add that these colonies that Europeans had, they were not very, they did not bring wealth to Europe. In fact, the vast majority of them were just big economic holes. They were losing money on the colonies, and it is not at all true that Europe was built by exploiting the colonies.
These heroes need testing.
The claim that Europe was built from the wealth of the colonies is a lie. And it is a lie that they propagate because they want us to accept immigration. So France does not owe anything to the colonies in Northern Africa. Nothing at all. They just stop them from raping, from killing and looting Europeans. History is the lie we agree upon. Or so said Napoleon Bonaparte. And this is true. The history we are taught in school is a lie. And it's a lie on almost all levels. Of course, except regarding World War II. That's everything we learn about World War II is of course true. But everything else is a lie. It's just the lie of the victor, and it's what they did in the past, that they told lies and then they banned the truth, and then after some generations they didn't ban it anymore because then they didn't need to, because nobody knew anymore. But one thing is lies too, but perhaps even worse is what they don't tell us.
4,
Wie weit weg hängt der denn noch, Alter?
1.
Loaded, loaded, hey 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 loaded, loaded. I loaded, 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 loaded,
The so-called white man, is he civilized or is he a savage? Let's find out. But surely this place is too civilized for us to be talking about the white man. So let's go.
Big cities, sewers, systems, baths, public baths, running water, agriculture. All of these are signs of civilization.
Ooh, look at that. And the smell. Oh, it reeks. I cannot think of a better place to talk about civilization than here. We often hear from so-called racists that civilization is a white thing, that we are a civilized white man. But in reality, if you look at history, not a single civilization was white. Every single civilization upon this earth was created by race-mixed individuals. In the Americas, in Africa with Egypt, in Asia with China and the Indus Valley culture, in the Middle East, also part of Asia, with the Mesopotamians, Sumerians, Phoenicians, and in Europe with the Greeks and Romans, who were, by the time they created civilization, already mixed. And that's why they created civilization, because they were mixed. This is the common denominator of civilization. It's all created by race-mixed individuals. The need for civilization arises when the man is not well fitted to survive where he lives. So, the white savage did not create civilization because he was always well fitted to survive in the European forests, mountains, fields. The black man didn't create any civilization because he was well suited for life in Africa. Civilization came when races were mixed and the individuals in society were no longer well fitted for life really anywhere. So they had to create an artificial life situation, so to speak. They had to create civilization, and they did. So when we have these so-called nationalists talk about Western civilization and how we need to protect it, they are shooting themselves in the wrong foot. Civilization itself is created by race-mixed individuals, and it promotes a life that is ideal, not for the black savage, not for the white savage, but for the race-mixed civilized man. Civilization is auto-domestication, and as you know, in the animal world, all domesticated animals become weaker, they grow a smaller brain, and they become degenerates, really, compared to their wildlife counterparts. And the same is happening to man. The blacks, as well as the whites, in the civilized societies are being broken and turn into a ruined form of life. We crash with civilization, blacks in their way and whites.
Capitalism is the best system. Woo! Mess with the best. Die like the rest, dude.
It's true, the Soviet Union wasn't really communist. But that's the system you get when you embrace communism. It's true too. The USA, America, it's not really capitalist. But that's what you get when you embrace capitalism. If you are a capitalist and you don't like corporatism, then it's very similar to being a guy who plants an acorn in his yard but doesn't want an oak tree to grow. Capitalism causes corporatism, always and inevitably. Just like if you plant an acorn, you're gonna have an oak tree growing in your garden. To those who think capitalism is a great thing but corporatism is not, do you really think that the big corporations are not privately owned? You think that there's not a private person, a private single capitalist behind each company? They are real capitalists. And if they hadn't used all the opportunities that was available to them to earn money, then they wouldn't be capitalists. And when they do that, it turns to corporatism, because the most rotten, the most corrupt, the most dishonest capitalists will prevail. That's what capitalism leads to. That's what capitalism is all about. And when he does, we will have corporatism. And fewer companies until everything is in one single hand. One private person owns everything. Which, by the way, means that capitalism will always and inevitably lead to the exact same as communism. It will turn into a dictatorship, tyranny. Same result. The truth is that both the not real capitalist system and the not real communist system are both shit to the core, and they both lead to the same, to the destruction and enslavement of the peoples and to tyranny.
Let's travel through the mouth. Let's travel underground. Let's travel to the realm of day. Let's travel through the mouth. Let's travel underground. Let's travel to the realm of day.
Привет, товарищи. Stefan Molyneux argues that capitalist societies are much more comfortable for their populations than communist societies. And he's right. But is that a good thing or not? Well, let's find out. Comfort can be good to us, but too much comfort is not good. In order to build muscles, you have to tear them down, you have to use them. And if you don't use them, you will degenerate physically. And that is what the comfort level of capitalism does to the human being. It completely ruins the human being. If you take a look at post-World War II capitalism, it produced a generation completely rotten to the core, completely sans any traditions, any real morals, or any, let's call it nationalist feelings, or at least biological feelings, if that's a better term. And of course we know them as the boomers. They lived extremely comfortable lives, and their sole focus was making money and having a comfortable life. To achieve this, through capitalism, they wasted all our resources. They exterminated a lot of animal species. They ruined our nature. They polluted our sea. And they built nuclear power plants en masse. Then we came along, and there was not much left for us in any context, really. They had spent almost everything on their own comfort land. And in the process, they had failed to maintain our traditions. They had failed to maintain even our peoples. They bribed the boomers. They bribed them into keeping silent. They bribed them into accepting that they were destroying our traditions behind our back, that they were destroying our families, that they were destroying our culture, and that they were also able to destroy us. And that's what they're doing. And that's what capitalism has enabled them to do. And that is what capitalism will enable them to, continue doing. And that's why Stefan Miljoen and his ilk is trying to keep our focus on capitalism, to make us still think that capitalism is a solution, capitalism is a good thing. It's not. They're trying to keep our attention away from the real alternatives. They're trying to ensure that we don't find a solution. And all this talk about things that are real, about immigration, the problems with feminism, blah blah blah, political correctness is shit, that sort of. Or they are only saying this to gain some credibility. They're only saying this so that we will bother listening to them. It's the key to our soul, so to speak. That's what may draw our attention. And then they will take one rotten apple and throw into the barrel of apples that they offer us. Every time. One rotten apple. So even though Stefan Miljoen and his ilk are saying things that are good and sensible, they always ensure that one rotten apple will come in each barrel.
That's right, we're not on the right track and we need to turn back. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.
the light and her sacred stance. I remember the bright beast in her bow, the tall troll telling her tales, and the honey in the haunted hollow. I remember the protected password, the secret soothing symbol, and the oh thou object. I remember the red runes on the rock, the spell of theme being sung, and the bold opening up of the beautiful burrow. I remember the coming of man reborn, the birth of Baldur the Bright, the return of a world that was woefully lost.
This is a serious threat to our
Hello-ed, salad, hello-ed, salad, hello-ed, salad, hello-ed, salad, hello-ed, salad, hello-ed, salad, hello-ed, salad. Salad, 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 salad,
We grew up with boomer parents, and our parent generation burned all the energy of this planet to make life comfortable for themselves. They wasted all our resources, almost, I exaggerate of course, they didn't waste all of them, but almost all of our resources, almost all of our oil, and they probably, and this is an interesting point, they probably in 1 or 2 generations spent more of this planet's resources than all humanity put together has spent before. 2 generations. Poof, wasted, just like that. However, this extreme waste of resources also enabled them to live extremely comfortable lives, and they have fed us with a lie about the future. We have been told that life used to be like this for a very long time, and then you have the Industrial Revolution and blah blah blah, and then the comfort level just skyrocketed. However, we are not going to, as they try to make us believe in science fiction, have flying cars and colonize other planets and have this constant improvement in our comfort level, improvement in technology. We are not going to have that. And we have to open our eyes to that reality. Just, no, the growth, as they call it, will stop. And when it has reached the zenith, it will plummet, it will drop like a rock. Back to the level we had some 100 years ago, maybe even 1,000 years ago. And mankind will continue on. If we survived, that is, because we might not, because our boomers also figure that building nuclear power plants was a good idea. Excuse me. And they are a serious risk. The nuclear power plants are the biggest risk to this, not just human life, all life on this planet. But they were willing to risk it, right? Because of the comfort level they had. Oh, they were so interested in comfort. So we have to realize that no, we're not going to colonize Mars. We're not going to send space missions into outer space. Never gonna happen. This is the end of growth. We have to deal with that. So, when you live your life, you have to keep this in mind. When we live our lives today, we have to break free from the brainwash, we have to break free from the false hope, we have to break free from the lies that we grew up with, that there's a constant growth, everything will become better, more advanced, so forth. It's not. We have to relate to reality, and reality for us is that we have to accept the leftovers. And we're going to have a living standard that is nothing like the one we grew up with. So a lot of our problems are based on the simple fact that we have been raised with unrealistic expectations. There's no way we're going to continue the growth in technology, in comfort level, and so on. We have to accept that not only is it not going to stop growing, it's also going to fall and fail. And you have to relate to that. So lower your standard. That's the key. Bye bye. Thanks for watching. I'm going to talk about a few things in relation to the video I made yesterday, and I'm going to try to be real quick about it. First of all, raw oil is not just a source of energy, it's also a raw material that we use for almost everything that we need to uphold this modern high-tech society. If you take a look around you, everything that is made of plastic that you can see, it's made of oil. Pretty much all the food you eat has been produced thanks to oil, not just because the tractors are using diesel or because the tires are made from oil, but also because they use pesticides to make food in modern agriculture, and the pesticides are made from raw oil. The same is of course the case for the fertilizers and so forth. So almost everything we surround ourselves with today is made from raw oil, as with raw oil being the material used for it. It's not just a question about energy. Then we have another point in relation to oil. People from the USA point at the fact that in Texas they have found an oil field with estimated, I think it's 5 billion barrels of oil. And that sounds great, doesn't it? But they don't tell you the truth. I'm talking about the media here when they report this, because sure, maybe there really is 5 billion barrels of oil there, but it's not easily accessible. So perhaps they will need 9 barrels of oil to extract 10 barrels of oil. Perhaps they even have to spend or use 99 barrels of oil to extract 100. And then you can do the math. 5 billion barrel oil field is not that big anyhow. So then there's a point with me promoting a simpler life as a solution for all of us. It's a solution for the environment, it's a solution for you in relation to your wish to be independent. You don't want to be a debt slave, and it's better for your health, because you will grow your own food that is not produced using pesticides, and so forth. If you live a simpler life as I describe in my videos, I have a few videos about that. I also have actually some videos called A Simpler Life. If you live a simpler life, you have nothing to lose. So there's no reason not to live a simpler life. If I am wrong and society will not collapse, then you have lost nothing if you live a simpler life. If I'm right and society will collapse, then you have lost everything if you don't. Simple as that. Further, in relation to a simple life, I'm not selling you anything. I'm not making money from this. I'm just trying to explain to my fellow Europeans what you need to do in order to increase your chance of survival in the future economic collapse, or after the future economic collapse. That's it. Not selling you anything.
Simple life, $1. Get 2 for the price of 3, $1 each.
Finally, I can add that my wife has made a video explaining how you can celebrate Yule in the most pagan way possible. And she will also make videos from now on every time there is a high festival, and she will make a video, explain how to do it the ancient European way. That's it. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Ja, vill du dit bilmacken? Selvfølgelig.
Her ser du deler av fronten. Der har du luftinntaket. Den er ganske smal for å være lastebil.
Ja.
Og så her ligger rammen.
Jeg synes det er ganske langt.
Ja, jeg vet ikke.
Jeg har av den. Så er den...
Men jeg synes den er ganske liten for å være en lastebil.
Ja.
Likevel. Du ser den skogen også, da?
Ja.
Ganske tøft. Oi, oi, se tre rett over oss.
Jo.
Se så mye moser som henger i tennene. Og det som sannsynligvis har skjedd, er at for det der oppe går veien, så har den sannsynligvis blitt sprengt i luften, så har den rullet ned her. Ja, er du sikker på de vanntette etter at du trakk ut på den spikeren i går? Ja, det er... Ok, det er flott å gå. Ja, nei, du har sandaler. Har du sandaler på noe, eller hva? Regnbukse og sandaler. Og så sokker i sandaler. Jeg nesten trodde du var tysk. Her ligger lasteplanet. Hva er det for noe, Volda? Er det noe med det? Ja.
Så kan jo helst gå på høyden.
Du kan ikke gå på stein hele veien. Du må ikke bli våt der.
Men ikke gå da!
Ok, skal vi se om vi får en sånn fail army-video her. Nei, men du skal ikke gå i vannet, du skal gå på stien tilbake her. Men nå er det på feil side av elven. Jeg må balansere på denne stokken. blir våt, så blir du våt. Så du kunne komme opp her, Tiva. Du kan gå der hvor det er sand.
Jeg er ikke våt.
Der er det bra.
Ja.
Da kommer du ned til oss.
Nå kan du løfte opp hodene mine. Da kjenner jeg hånda.
Ja. Ikke gå ned der, så det er Solli. Solli, kom her. Solli, kom her med en gang. Du kommer her med en gang. Tullejente. Gi meg hånden din. Det er så kvent ulydig. Vi får gå opp igjen til bilen. Det blir ganske bratt opp da, men vi får tåle det. Det er bra trening. Det er ganske tungt å gå sånn som dette her, da. Enig? Jeg angrer litt på at jeg tok med rollespillene. Hvorfor? For det er ganske tungt. Jeg har både Traveler og Myfarg i ryggsekken, uten at det er noen grunn til å ha det med. Jeg tar alltid med rollespillet mitt. Kan dere se slottet der oppe?
Ja. Men jeg skal ikke blø.
Hadde du klart å skyte herfra, tror du?
Men de hadde klart å skyte bort.
Ja. Eller, det vil si, det er litt mye trær i veien.
Det blir ikke da de tok litt ned der.
Ja.
Nå er jeg kan se opp.
Jeg tror de kan høre oss. Det er faktisk ikke mose, det er lag. Hvis du tar det til Edvard og legger det i lut natten over, så kan du spise det dagen etterpå, og da er det utrolig næringsrikt. Men hvis du ikke tar det i lut, så klarer du ikke å få noen næringsstoffer fra det.
Jeg må ta det i lut.
Lut er såpe, men du lager lut av aske fra bålet ditt. Så hvis du lager et leirbål, så kan du lage aske, og så lager du lut av asken, og så tar du det oppi, og så kan du spise det.
Skal vi gjøre det?
Nei. Det kan du slutte å slutte. Så får du få selvballer. Tror du ikke du blir sånn liten svekling? Har du lyst til å bli en sterk og tøff gutt? Nei? Skal du bli en liten pyse? Skal du bli en liten pysegutt, Balla? Nei. Ja. Er det skjold?
Ja.
Eiken skjold? Ja.
Få se.
Du har et blad. Kanskje ikke så bra som skjold. Er det for å vise til mamma?
Ja.
Her var det bra kne. Det har du Elva. Nei, men ikke gå ned der, Timon. Vi har det 3 voksne i hagen vår.
Ja, men jeg må ha bladene til det.
Da kan du hente bladene til det i hagen vår. Det er en spratt skråning. Hvis du bare ruller ned dit. Så jeg er nødt til å legge fra meg mye farge her oppe. Det liker jeg dårlig for å gå ned og hente deg. Ikke nødvendigvis. Åja, falt du? Du skled ned.
Kan jeg også få en? Hva kan du handle to?
Hva slags ekspedisjon er dette her da? Det er jo sånne herbarium-nerder hele gjengen. Hæ? Er det bare jeg som tenker på rollespill?
Bare for at hvis mamma kommer til å se denne her videoen, så kommer jeg til å bli veldig fornøyd.
Når du ser videoen, så blir du veldig misfornøyd med meg. Denne her skal bare slettes med en gang. Her er det ikke så bratt, Balder. som er slottet, i hvert fall konturene av slottet. Ja. Nå må dere komme. Ja, det er bra. Kan du vente litt på oss, Balder? De andre holder på å... Er det ikke mat?
Ja.
Nei. Men det kan være bratt selv om du ikke må krype, Balder. Det kan jo være bratt selv om du ikke er nødt til å krype for å komme opp.
Jeg tror det er ikke vanskelig. Ja.
Førstemann opp er en slapp fisk. Sistemann opp er en slapp fisk. Ja, det er egen kategori for jenter, så det går bra. Du er ikke slapp fisk.
Det var jo skikkelig juks.
Der borte er veien forresten, helt der borte. Inni der var det sannsynligvis lastebilen ble angrepet. Og så har den rullet ned skråningen der. Ned i elva.
Kan du ta en liten pause? Jeg tror de mannen som
Niks.
oppi den lastebilen, det er et lite problem.
Da skal vi gå til vi stuper. Du får ikke lov til å ta pause før du besvimer av utmattelse. Ok?
Det er kanskje litt bra.
Da får du lov til å ta pause. Kom igjen, opp og gå. Skal jeg bare jakken din?
Men da er den pause på et sekund.
Ja, du har fått pause nå, Sovli. Eller?
Jeg er sliten nå.
Sliten? Finnes ikke noe sliten i vår families vokabular.
Jeg er sliten nå.
Ja, ok. Se der borte. Der synes det var et minnesmerke på andre siden av veien. Det er sikkert i forbindelse med den lastebilen som lå nede i elven. Vi drar bort dit etterpå. Men kan du forklare hvorfor det ble så tomt, Sovini? Så vi er snart fremme. Ok, da har vi endelig kommet opp til slottet, og det er stengt. Ok, da drar vi hjem. Her er det firkantede minnesmerket som jeg så fra andre siden, ser du det?
Kan de klatre?
Nei. Og der oppe er slottet. Jeg tror lastebilen var der oppe. Mens vi gikk opp til slottet der nede.
I'm going to talk about the alt-right movement. How alternative is it really? Let's find out. As you probably know by now, Trump was pushed by the alt-right movement as almost like a savior, as a new messiah. Have you seen, the government cabal Trump has made? He has picked the most rotten bankers you could possibly find, really. I'm pretty sure you would be hard-pressed to find a banker that is more rotten than the ones he has picked for his government. So, there you go. The alt-right movement was pushing a fiction, a false hope. They were sending us out on a wild goose chase, because that's what this is. They are presenting to us some alternatives, and that they tell us, oh, this is going to solve things. This is a real alternative. When in fact it is not.
I remember the shining sanguine sun, the frozen forest.
The only alternative the alt-right movement seems to be pushing is an alternative route to our own destruction. If we follow their advice, we're going to get fucked anyway. As you will see with Trump.
I'll amuse myself by cleaning up their mess. You think getting past a few...
The problem is that there really is no alternative. We are not going to find a political solution. Because the problem is not political in that sense. The problem is that the modern society is destroying everything. They're destroying us, they're destroying our societies, they're destroying nature, they're destroying our ability to uphold sustainable human life. So if you find an alternative to keep this machinery going, then that's not an alternative. That's just an alternative route to our own destruction.
Never trust a more. Be thankful you died.
I remember the red roots on the right, the scarlet sea in the sun, and the bone opening, beautiful bone.
I don't think that all the people in the alt-right movement are aware of this, and I don't think they are bad people. I just think they have been duped. I think that the alt-right movement was created as controlled opposition, and it attracted a lot of good people, but it's controlled opposition. It's they're sending us out on a wild goose chase. They're sending us out to support the different rotten to the core politicians who propose we have the real alternative. Well, fuck you, you don't. You just have an alternative route to our self-destruction. And that's it really. What we should focus on is to ensure that we, our tradition, our cultures, peoples survive the inevitable coming collapse of civilization. If you want an alternative to self-destruction, you should brace yourself for the coming fall, for the coming impact, because this modern civilization is going to fall and fail. It has already failed, and it's going to fall, and it's going to fall hard. And what you need to do is to make sure that you and your kin, your traditions, your people survives.
2, 1.
Beware.
And then, when you have survived the fall, there is a slight chance that this world will not burn to ashes, that it will not turn into a radioactive desert, thanks to, people who want to make money on electricity and consumer goods, and who therefore build power plants, nuclear power plants. And if we survive that, then we will see. There are no alternatives that will keep this machinery going. This is a global village. The capitalists and communists ensured that, so we are all going to suffer the same fate. Everything is going to fall, and it's going to fall globally.
This time I'm going to talk about National Socialism. And I'm not going to talk about my view on National Socialism. I'm not going to talk about whether or not I think it's a good ideology or not, because that's really irrelevant in this context. You see, no matter what, if you have a country in Europe where you have a National Socialist victory, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, the exact same as what happened to Germany. If you're a National Socialist and you want National Socialism to prevail as an ideology, you have to make National Socialism prevail all over Europe and the USA and in Russia at the same time. And I'm sorry to say so, guys, but that's never gonna happen. Sorry. And if it doesn't happen like that, then whatever country manages to become National Socialist is going to be bombed back to the Stone Age, and that population is going to be genocided, just like the Germans are being genocided today because of National Socialism in Germany under Adolf Hitler. You cannot try anymore with political solutions in this civilization. It has gone too far. National Socialism is what ruined all of Europe. National Socialism is what is causing the Germans to be genocided as we speak. So even if you have a victory in one country, it's not a victory in the long run. It will just lead to World War III, and that country will be bombed back to the Stone Age, and in this day and age, it will be fucking nuked. Had they, invented the nuclear bomb before Germany capitulated, they would have nuked Berlin. You know that, right? Sorry, guys, that is not the solution. You are never going to save Europe with National Socialism. What you need to do is to realize that this civilization that we live in is lost. We have to push the reset button and start all over again. I'm saying that the fall is inevitable. It is. And we can't actually work actively to break it, because if we do, they will use that as an excuse to break us. So instead, you have to let it fall. Let it fall. Contribute in all ways to its fall if you can legally. But don't do anything illegal and just let it fall. It will fall.
5.
And when it does,
4.
then we can start all over again. Then we can build a new society the way we want it to be. But right now, it doesn't work. Nothing will work. Everything will be tainted. If you have a victory in one country, and you will always only have a victory in one country at the time, it'll be crushed by the others before anything good comes from it. So push the reset button, start all over again. That's the solution. That is the solution for Europe.
Come on, look at this guy. He looks like a freaking bum. But why? Let's find out.
4, 3.
You're right. I do look like a bum. Because I'm not buying into the consumer bullshit. I'm not buying new clothes only because they are a little bit worn. I'm not contributing to the system as any more than I absolutely have to. That's why I look like a bum. And right now, I don't shave because you're not supposed to shave according to European traditions between Halloween and Yule. So you have these white people who work their jobs, they pay their taxes, and they go to the bank because, you know, I need my widescreen TV, dude. And the football cup is coming up. Go Rangers! And then they go to the bank and they say, oh, hello, Mr. Goldman. Hello, Mr. Sucks. Can I have some money for you? I'll be your slave. I'll let you do anything with my money. And they do. They bomb the shit out of Afghanistan, of Iraq, of Libya, of Syria, and so forth. And they finance the mass migration. Your tax money. People today have an insane living standard. It's way above what even the kings and emperors had in the past. And they think they deserve it. And they think it comes at no cost. Well, the cost for this is white genocide, the destruction of Europe as a biological entity. Those who don't lower the living standards, they are accomplices to the white genocide. So you are working your ass off because, you know, you want to have this living standard that you think you deserve. Why? I don't know why you think you deserve that. Even the kings in the past didn't have it like that, but you think you deserve it, right? So they think they can't live without their widescreen TV, they can't live without their big ass truck, they can't live without their washing machine, their fashionable clothes, and they need to dress all their kids in fashionable clothes too, right? And they have to have another car for the wife, and there's another car when the teenager grows up, and they have to borrow money to get all of this stuff. They are the problem here. We, the whites, we are the problem. The bankers, they just see like we're cows to them, you know. They put up a barrier, and we stay in there, and they throw in some trinkets that we can play with in order to make us not revolt, like football cup and widescreen TV. My new iPhone, it's so cool. You had to go to the bank in order to borrow money so that you could buy this shit. And this is mainly an American problem, by the way. More than half of the stuff that you own in America is owned by the banks. You borrowed money to get it. That's the biggest problem here. You guys think that you deserve to have a living standard that is just insane. And this is what's causing the white genocide. This is what's enabling them to finance our destruction. And you guys are paying for it. You're working for it. You need to stop working for the banks. It's that simple. Whatever you have that is not your own possession, that you have borrowed money to buy, sell it, pay back the loan.
5,
Don't
4,
borrow money for anything. Don't be a slave to the bankers. And you think, you know, like the Spartans, and I'm talking about the ancient Greeks, not the football team guys, okay? You think the Spartans would betray Sparta for a fancy car and a widescreen TV, a dishwasher and stuff like that? I don't think so. In order to live like that, in order to have this high living standard, you have to be a slave to the banks. And the banks are the problem. They are financing our destruction. All of this is only possible because we have become so stupid but we let it happen. And civilization is to blame for that. And just like wild animals become more dumb, their brain shrinks, and they lose their instincts when you domesticate them, so do humans. Civilization is to blame.
As the stars wax, so your lives wane.
I can understand that maybe you are not one of these people who contribute so much to our destruction by being a wage slave and working for the banks. But most Europeans are, and the vast majority of Americans are. If you want to fix the world, you have to start by fixing yourselves.
When I was younger, I used to call myself a National Socialist. And I did when I was in prison. And the prisoners that I spent the most time with were, skinheads, so-called neo-Nazis.
Must I show you the true horror of our reality?
And I was in a prison, actually a former German concentration camp, Polizeigefangenenlager Grini, was transformed to a prison in Norway. Or originally it was a prison for women, and they changed it into a concentration camp during the war, and then it turned into a prison. Anyhow, the inspector in that prison was a National Socialist, and he liked me. He gave me positive special treatment. So, and one of the things he did, he used to call for me to come to his office, and we would just sit there and chat. He would show me his German World War II belt with Gott mit uns on, and he was quite a character, really. And during one of these conversations, he argued that I shouldn't socialize with these skinhead types, because he argued that they were no good. And he asked me about this guy, this self-proclaimed National Socialist. Why is he a National Socialist? If he had been in a movie about National Socialism, he would barely get the role of Untermensch. And at the time I thought that was pretty harsh, talk about cutting down a person. But he was right. And that is my problem with ethno-nationalism, or so-called racialism. The problem is that even if you are of the right race, that doesn't mean that you are any good. It reminds me of my democracy video, where I talked about how the only merit you need to have, the only quality you need to have in life in order to vote, is that you're able to survive until you're 18. You don't need any qualities other than that. And in racism, the only quality you need is to have a certain skin color. That's it. You don't need to be honest, you don't need to be courageous, you don't need to be intelligent, you don't need to be anything. You only need to have the right skin color or be of the same race. And that's no good. That's not a positive, intelligent ideology. In order to make ethno-nationalism or racism